Hey, Algebra 2 Trig, we're doing 8.4 matrices and systems of equations. The essential question is, how do I use matrices to solve systems of equations? Okay, so I know you've never seen matrices before. This is the definition of a matrice, and we'll talk about it. Make sure you write it down. Okay, and then this is how systems relates to matrices. So if you could write that and the augmented part right here. This is just to help you recognize what it is, so don't worry about the last two. And then these are the rules that you could use for matrices. And like I said, I know you haven't seen this before, so I'll do a problem, and then we'll talk about it more in class. Okay? Okay, so the first problem we're going to do is we're going to use matrices to solve 5x plus 3y equals 9 and 2x minus 4y equals 14. So if you look at your notes, I'm going to rewrite this as an augmented matrix. So it's going to be 5, 3, 9, 2, negative 4, and 14. And then you put the dots in between. That'll represent the equal sign. So this is an augmented matrix. Okay? And all it has is the coefficients of my system. And then what I need to do, your goal, your eventual goal, I'll write the goal on the side, is I want it to look like 1, 0, 0, 1, and then whatever numbers are going to be my answers. So I need to turn that into 1, I need to turn this into 0, I need to turn that into 0, I need to turn that into 1. Okay? Alright, so if you look at your matrice rules, really you're just going to have to play around with it, but you can interchange any two rows. If I interchange, I can move this row to the top and move this row to the bottom, and that doesn't look like it'll help. The second one says I can multiply one of the rows by a non-constant 0, so I can multiply, say, for this whole row by 2 or 1/2. And then the other one is I can multiply one row and add it to the other. Okay? So the first thing I'm looking at is I probably want to turn this into 1. That would be my first goal. So in order to turn that into 1, if I can somehow turn this into negative 4 and add it, so I'm going to do elementary row operation rule number 2. Actually, rule number 3. Add a multiple of one row to another row. So I'm going to multiply the bottom row by negative 2, and then I'm going to add it to 5. Okay? So the bottom row is not going to change because I'm only changing the top. So you're just going to have to carefully listen to me. I'm going to multiply the bottom row by negative 2 and add it to row 1, and that's going to be my new row 1. Okay? So if I multiply negative 2 by 2, so if I multiply 2 by negative 2, that's negative 4. Negative 4 plus 5 is 1. If I multiply this by negative 2, it will be positive 8. Positive 8 plus 3 is 11. If I multiply this by negative 2, it will be negative 28. Negative 28 plus 9 is negative 19. Okay, so now that we've done that, I've turned that into 1. Now I want to turn this bottom one into 0. Okay, so in order to turn that into 0, I am going to multiply the top row by negative 2 and add it to the second row. So the first row is not going to change. So I'm going to multiply the top row by negative 2. So that will be negative 2 plus 2, that's 0. I'm going to multiply this by negative 2. That's negative 22. Negative 22 plus negative 4 is negative 26. And then I'm going to multiply negative 19 by negative 2, so that's 38. 38 plus 14 is 52. Okay? So I'm getting a little closer. Now I have 1, 0. Now I want to turn this one, the negative 26 into 1. Okay? So I'm going to rewrite the top row because I'm not doing anything to the top row. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do number 2, which is multiply one of the rows by a non-constant 0. So I'm going to multiply this whole row by negative 1 over 26. So negative 1 over 26 times 0 is 0. Negative 1 over 26 times negative 26 is 1. And then negative 1 over 26 times 52 is negative 2. Okay, so the last thing I have to do is I need to turn this into 0. So I'm not going to do anything to the bottom row. Make sure we're only changing one row at a time. So I'm going to multiply this by negative 11, and if I add that, it should be 0. So negative 11 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is still 1. Negative 11 times 1 is negative 11. Negative 11 plus 11 is 0. And then negative 11 times negative 2 is 22. 22 times 22 plus negative 19 is 3. Okay, so now that I have that, these are actually your answers. So this, if you look, this actually represents x if we go back to it. So this row is x, the first row. The second row is y, if you look straight down. And the last row are the answers. So really, you're saying x equals 3. And then if you look at this, this is y equals negative 2. So your answer is going to be 3, negative 2. Okay, it's just another way of solving systems. You might think it's a little tedious now, but when we do a 3 by 3, with 3 variables, it will be very helpful. So if you have any questions, write it down. I'm sure you'll have tons, and then we'll talk about it.